Yes, so today it's day 5 of my personal documentation, how I'm preparing and making my first album. So I was thinking, I've been doing a lot of preparation, and it was bothering me that all my papers were lying all over the place and I didn't have a real structure. And suddenly, when I was thinking about the album, about Vegas and early rave, it reminded me of going on holiday. And if we go on a vacation, we prepare stuff. So I thought maybe it would be cool to make like a small document as if I would go on a journey. So I've prepared something um, that now that it's printed out, I have like a manual, a roadmap, and I don't have to think about it anymore. So from now on, everything is written down with the dates and other stuff I will explain. But now that I have a document, I hopefully can fully focus purely on the music. So to give a little bit a small explanation, it's really simple, but it's for me it's easy to imagine that I'm going on a trip with this project, and it's fun to do, and it gives a lot of clarity also. Let me explain why. Um, you can clearly set the for future projects. You can set the departure date, the destination date. The travel destination is the 16th of April. What country are you going to visit or what are you going to do? For me, the country is to make an album, a mix between Vegas and early rave style music. Then I was thinking, what do you prepare for holiday? That can be, of course, your passport, your ID. That reminds me of writing down why I'm doing this, what are my musical influences, who am I? I've written this down, so that helps me to put in perspective why I'm making this album. Then I've also made a list of highlights, milestones. What do I mean by that? It's like a daily schedule to if you go on a holiday, or maybe if you went on youth camps or something like that, you received a schedule with the day planning, wake up at 6, breakfast at this hour. So I've made for this project, I want to do the best I can to complete it, so some structure is really necessary for me. Um, I don't really always stick to it, but it guides me into having a more balanced structure. Let's say if I say I'm going to wake up at between 5 and 6, then I have some march between the hours. If it's Sunday, it can be 7 hours in the weekend, maybe later, but you know what I mean. I have something to fall back onto. Um, the milestones are, for example, by the 10th of March, I will have done a 2-week daily video update, so that's a milestone for me. And every Wednesday, I'm releasing a track on Bandcamp, so every Wednesday is a milestone to reach. What is my travel bag? What adventure am I going to do? What I mean by that is, what experience can I use that I've learned and practiced over the past years for this project. Uh, it's impossible to state everything you know, but it's important to know. I love to work with arpeggios in a certain synthesizer, so I'm only going to use that synthesizer because I know it could give a cool effect like on early rave tracks. Um, so I'm going to show, it's just a draft. I'm going to make more structurized and a cool PDF document where you can fill in the things yourself for future projects. But for now, as I'm spending already too much time on the preparation and I feel I need to work on the music more, I just make a draft version. It's really simple with some pictures. It's like I'm going on holiday. The journey description is about the album I'm making. Uh, um, as we're going on an adventure, I like to keep the options open and I'm working on two possible outcomes. So one is more, one alias is Francesco Del Ponte, and this is more for harder style lovers. And the other album is more clubby, Vega style. So I have two visual things I can work towards. Maybe as long as I progress, I can see that, okay, there are 4 tracks from the first album and 6 from the second album, so I'm going to combine them together for one album. That's also possible, because I'm using the same sounds and same setups, so the result should be more or less the same. I have also the milestones I talked about, the weekly release I talked about. Then a small fun thing, what do you take with you on holiday is, for me, in my case, I always take a book with me, so I've thought, why don't implement it in the document I'm reading now, Thinking in Beds by Annie Duke. I've already read it like a few years ago, but I'm going to read it again because it's really, it has a lot of valuable information. It's based, she's a poker player and she's explaining how to make better decisions when you don't have all the information, like at the poker table. I also love to play poker, so that's why it's really helpful also in making music. And the last thing I wanted to talk about, maybe it's a small thing, but when you go on holiday, you also, it always depends. I'm talking in my case, I love to visit some culture, some art, and in my music, last years I've really dig into the creative process from a lot of artists I like Van Eyck, Picasso. Why? Because I feel like we are using the same techniques. It's like I love to see music more as making art. You start with something, it's like a sculpture. With a sculpture, you start with a marble or with a block and you carve out things until you get something. With an artist, it's the reverse. You start with nothing and you build up from the ground. And I'm not really keen into making music, replicating music. I love to experiment, set limitations and boundaries, and see what comes out. I love to experiment. I love to try out stuff. I love to see where my limits are. I love when projects turn out completely different. If you say I'm going to make a trance track and it's a completely different track, maybe like a techno fusion ambient track, it's also okay for me. But I also recognize it's I feel it's about time to come up with my own style. So that's why I'm doing this project. That's maybe the main reason, is to come up with, hopefully, after I want to explain also that I realize I'm not going to find immediately a own recognizable style maybe with this album, because it's a constant evolution. If you grow and if you listen to other artists, you will hear that they sound similarly the same, but every project they are changing. It's because they learn new stuff, they implement new life experiences, new things they want to try. I remember like um, one of my big influences is like DJ Promo. He's using always the same sounds, but it's constantly um, moving over the years. So that's something I have to keep in mind. So about the cultural places and the art how I like to visit, it reminded me of since Corona I not only started to make music, I did some art school and I restarted to make some art because I really loved it, and I realized I missed it a lot in my life. It's like a creative outlet, and it works hand in hand with my music, I feel. Um, so I can show some work that I've made that I like and maybe could use also in this album as maybe covers. I have no idea yet what I'm going to do about it. It's like I have to experiment. Actually, you have to see it like this. I don't know if you can see everything. I love to experiment with lines. These are works based on my studies in Brussels that I did, and it's based on the study of objects. Like as an inspiration, I still remember I used Kandinsky and Pollock as my influences, and I really love to experiment with lines, but not in a traditional way. I always work in squares, I don't know why, but I like it. So maybe I could use this also as a cover, part of a cover. I have no idea yet, we'll see. So I now that I've prepared everything, I've printed it out. I have a daily schedule, I have my milestones, I have my FL Studio setup, and hopefully next videos I can share some sounds and some music that are in progress. That's maybe also some could be something useful. So see you tomorrow.